If you cannot risk, you cannot grow. If you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. If you cannot become your best, you cannot be happy. If you cannot be happy, what else matters?
Welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I'm Dr. Dawn Earhart Whitty, your guide on a transformative journey of personal development and discussions of universal truths. Join me and a panel of life coaches and spiritual leaders from around the world discussing how to handle some of life's greatest challenges. We will be sharing stories of love, faith, and inspiration with you, our faithful listeners, to live your happiest and most fulfilling life, full of purpose and passion for yourself, your families, and the world. We are here to be the change we wish to see. Let the conversation begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of The Secrets of Being. I am so thrilled today to have Leonard Weingarten with us. I read through his bio, and I only could point out a few little highlights because it is extensive, and we would be here all day if I read every single thing that he's done. He is quite impressive. I've got my notes here, so many notes because, wow, the number of things that he's done. Leonard Weingarten has a rich history of developing, marketing, and managing successful business, nonprofit, and civic partnerships, along with educational, economic, and workforce development programs. Now, as I'm reading through this amazing bio, you are so very accomplished and your experience is extensive. He's raised over $1 million. He has raised money for the United Way and other organizations. He's worked on the Summer Olympic Games, the Rose Bowl Parade and Game, taught at UC Berkeley. He is a contributing author for Love Notes from the Soul 2.0, and that's how we met. And he's also an avid hiker. And I first of all, welcome, Leonard.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Well, you've had so much success, and I always like to start my podcast off with a quote. So I thought I would read your chapter again, and what I found was in your first sentence: having crafted a marketing career in civic management engagement that has spanned decades, I've come to realize that true leadership doesn't always make headlines. It shows up early, stays late, and often stands just outside of the spotlight. And I love that you said that because clearly the things that you do, you're not doing it for accolades or fame or recognition. There's something, a bigger driving force within you. And I wanted to talk about that today with you and inspired leadership. And how have you been so successful in all the things that you've done? That's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. Sometimes I see opportunities and it resonates with me, and I look to get involved, okay, to contribute, to make a positive impact in people's lives, or help to make an event successful. And so I go for it. And because I've had times that it hasn't worked out, and I say, oh, I can't do this. I don't want life to be a would've, could've, should've. Okay.
Oh.
So I really try to remind myself, if you see something, go for it. Life is a one-time opportunity, and just to maximize what you have available.
You know what? You gave me goosebumps. That everything you just said is so inspiring. And could you tell us a little bit about how, like, your journey, from where you started to all of these different things that you've gotten to be involved with? How did you go from step A? Where did you start?
Well, I'm originally from the Bay Area, and went to school in Northern California, came back to the Bay Area, short time in Oregon. And while I was up there, the owner of the Oakland Raiders contacted me because I had worked with them before. And he said, what are you doing up there? We have training camp in 2 weeks. Get your back here. Okay. So I came back, spent more time with the Raiders. I love the outdoors. So I was in Denver for a game with the Raiders and the Broncos. And after a number of years with the Raiders, I was ready for a change. So I packed up the car, I moved to Denver. I didn't have a job, didn't know where I was going to live. All I had was in the car. I have the name of a coach who was with the Broncos. The other name I have was the woman who used to be my babysitter. Okay. And so we got connected. I did a number of things in Denver, sporting goods sales. I was sports information director for a college, a number of things. After a while, I said, I want to get back into a bigger market. And I thought about it, and the two biggest markets were New York and Los Angeles. Well, I'm not going to New York because I love the West. So it was election day in Denver. I went to the local high school. I voted. I got in the car. I drove to LA. And when I told my friends I was going to LA, they said, Leonard, you're more stupider and crazier than I thought you were. Why would you leave Denver to go to LA? You're, you know, um, and basically what I was doing was following my dreams, And so I moved to LA, started from scratch, did a number of, temp jobs, decided to go back to school at USC in a sports communications program, and just being proactive and keep my eyes open because I already had experience in the industry. I had the opportunity to work on the LA Olympics, which was incredible at the Natural History Museum because there was a collaboration between the city of Los Angeles, the Olympic Committee, and the Natural History Museum. And the museum representative said, we're into bone-in artifacts. We don't know much about sports. Basically, it's your program through our public relations office. Oh, and P.S., we really don't have a budget. Okay. So I said, great. And so you had to be entrepreneurial, which I love to do and think out of the box. So being proactive and thinking creatively, I had a chance to work with Olympic athletes, got stories on National Public Radio, um, worked with Rayford Johnson, who was the torchbearer for the Los Angeles Games and also a gold medal winner, to do TV public service announcements, which were aired on 6 stations in Southern California. And we got about 35 print listings in various papers throughout Southern California. I also had the opportunity to be a presenter at the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Association luncheon. Whatever avenue I could take to get the word out, I did. And so one thing I did was that at that time, the Los Angeles Dodgers were in the baseball playoffs. And I looked, and baseball was an exhibition sport in the Olympics. So I contacted the public relations director for the Dodgers, told him about the relationship, see if we could put a mess up on Diamond Vision for the playoffs. And basically said, Leonard, forget it. We're not going to do it. I'm busy. Leave me alone. I remember that in one of my classes at USC was a gentleman who actually runs the message board at Dodger Stadium. So I contacted him. I told him about the strong relationship between the city of Los Angeles, the Dodgers, baseball, the community. His response was, sure, no problem. Tell me what you want. So for a phone call, and I think it was a 22-cent stamp and a little time on a typewriter, I reached over 150,000 people. Okay. So that's what I did. And then, like I said, being in Los Angeles, there's a lot of things going on. So I had an opportunity to do public relations for the Rose Bowl parade and game. Afterwards, I went to a cycling event in Beverly Hills because I love to watch. That's one way I learn, by seeing what people do. I ran into one of my colleagues from the public relations firm. We said hi to each other. And then a few weeks later, he called me up and said, Leonard, do you have any plans in the next few weeks? And just being curious and optimistic, I said, sure. Why are you calling? What do you have in mind? He said, well, the Pope's coming to the United States, and the local organizing committee needs some help. Are you available? I said, sure. Yeah, I'm available. He said, good, because I already given them your name and they're expecting you. So I was brought aboard as one of the production coordinators for a 2-hour Hollywood show, I think with 1,200 international entertainers at Dodger Stadium for Pope John Paul II. I would never have that opportunity in Denver. Okay. So that's some of the things I've done and how they came about.
Well, and you said some things that I really wanted to kind of highlight because I really think it's important. Thinking outside of the box. I think that not a lot of people, they're very confined in the way they see things and think about things. So that's always a good way to be successful and to have more in your life. You said taking risks, like just getting in your car and moving to Denver, not knowing, anybody there but your babysitter. That's most people would say that's crazy, but you have to be a little crazy in order to do these things. And you talked about having no regrets. And I love that because that's one of the things that's very near and dear to my heart. I want to live this life as fully and beautifully as I can and explore everything that I want to explore in this lifetime. So, can you talk a little bit about what, when people are telling you, oh, you're crazy, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, or whatever, what is it in you that said, you know what, it might be crazy, but I'm still going to do it anyway?
Well, I took a community education class in Denver, and one of the quotes from the instructor was that if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. Okay. And that just kind of resonated with me, be in the back of my mind. So I figured out, how am I different? How can I stand out in the crowd? How can I be unique without, say, being embarrassing? But what can I do to let people know who I am, what I have to offer, how I can make a positive impact? So I just kind of use that in part as a guiding light. And because another thing I've done over the last, well, number of years, many years when I was younger, like the quote I just mentioned, when I hear an inspirational quote, I write it down. So I have a collection of about 35 3x5 cards and with inspirational quotes that I've collected over the years from various sources. It could be something I read in the paper, it could have been from a civic leader, could have been an athlete, wherever. And for whatever reason, if it resonates with me, I write it down and go through them periodically as a refresher.
I love that. And I do that too. I've been doing that my whole adult life. And so, would you share with us? You just shared one, but can you share some of your other, off the top of your head, some of your favorite, like, and again, this is called the secrets of being for a reason. It's like those aha things that you hear, and your life is never the same after hearing it.
Right.
Can you share some of your favorites?
Well, here's a few. Okay. People don't want too much, they just settle for too little.
Ooh.
Great leaders are rare, so I'm following myself. Okay. If you fail to prepare, you are prepared to fail. And that came from Serena Williams. Okay. Um, what else? Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. So that gives you a sample of some of the quotes.
And that's how you live your life. Those are the things that, I mean, I have some favorite quotes. One is it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I quote it all the time, and it's a longer quote, but the last couple sentences says, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, that is to have succeeded. And I love that. And that's kind of a guiding light in my life, and also be the change you wish to see in the world. Like, if you see something that you don't like, how do you add and make a difference in a good way? How do you, so
Exactly.
you, again, just wow, your whole life. So if you were talking to somebody, you were mentoring someone who, say, is starting off, maybe trying to figure out where to go to college, what to study, or maybe even after college, what kind of advice would you give them for their next steps if they don't know, what do I do next?
Well, one thing I would ask them to do is just spend some time where it's quiet and you can think and to visualize. What is it that you love to do? What's your passion? Do you want to work inside or outside? Do you want to work by yourself in an office? Just your whole surrounding. What is it? If you could live your life anyway, what is it? How would it look? What are you doing? And then once you have a clear picture, write it down. Okay. And it's going to change because once you have different experiences, your values change, what's important to you changes. But this gives you a guideline versus having something up in your mind and you thinking about it at 3 o'clock in the morning and then you forget about it. It makes it more real when you can write it down and you can look at it and use it as a refresher.
I think that's very good advice. I always like to also say, think about all the things that you love, things that you would just spend hours and hours doing just because you love it so much. Those are things that that means something to your soul. You're going to find fulfillment in doing that, and I think a lot of people get into careers that they feel stuck in, but they're like, I don't love this. Like, oh, I have to
Yeah.
go to work tomorrow.
I had an
And
experience when I was teaching at UC Berkeley, and I was an international student body class. We went on a field trip. It was a sports related class. We went to a soccer match between the national teams of the United States and the Soviet Union. And we got in, we toured the place, we met the decision makers, stayed for the game. And then after the class, one of the students said, Mr. Weingarten, I don't know this is really the field for me. I hope you're not too upset. And I said, upset? You kidding? I'm thrilled. I'd rather you spend a little time, figure out what works for you, what isn't working for you. Go find your passion. What makes you happy? So I figured the money spent on this class was well spent, and versus spending 6 to 8 years and doing something you don't enjoy doing.
that is so wise. And that's, you took what he thought was a negative and turned it into a positive for him. And
Yeah.
I think if we can look at all the experiences we have in our lives in that way, like it's moving us in the direction that's meant for us. It wasn't wasted. And I love that you gave him that advice. And that probably stuck with him the rest of his days.
Well, like I said, our life is a collection of different experiences, and everybody has something to offer. As I say, we learn together, we learn from each other. So I really encourage people, find out what it is you do, what gives you passion, what motivates you, and how you can make a positive impact in the community.
Well, and another thing I think that what I have experienced with you is that you reached out to me. We're both authors in a book, and you said, I want to get to know you. I read your chapter. And I think reaching out to people and being connected, that's so important to opening up opportunities that people don't even realize, just make that connection. Send that email, send that text message, send that Facebook message, connect with people, because that's probably why people think of you when they have a big event coming up and they're like, oh, let me contact Leonard.
Well, they may think of me, but like I said, if I can be a resource, provide a tip or a guidance that will help them, fabulous, that works.
Yeah. So, in all of these amazing experiences you've had and all your successes, what is one of your favorites?
Well, two come to mind. One
Mhm.
was the LA Olympic game exhibit. It was incredible. As I said, I was like a kid in a candy shop. Okay, and loved it. Another was I worked for a youth employment organization to help create their outreach to the business department for high school students for jobs, internships, financial support. Um, I was brought aboard. It was a brand new position. I walked in the first day. My desk was blank with one piece of paper. Okay. And so it was very entrepreneurial, and everyone's had a first job. So it was very easy to do outreach. And so it was everything from the president of CEO of major corporations to, as I say, to Joe's hardware store. So it was for jobs, internships, financial support. And 3 years after I started, the agency was recognized by the US Department of Labor as one of the leading youth development nonprofits in the country. But it was great because you're help developing our current and future workforce. You're providing students opportunities. You're helping businesses to be civic oriented. You're helping employees look at their job a little bit differently, if they can mentor a student or be involved. So there's a lot of win-win opportunities.
And so I love that you are finding the service in what it is that you're doing. And I feel like we're all here to do whatever it is that we are called to do to be of service to others in however we bring that to the table. So a painter brings something to the table because they create beautiful art. I am not talented in that way. So I'm trying to be of service in the ways that make me happy. Um, so, oh my gosh, I had a great question and it left. It left. So, oh, okay. So you have worked in a lot of different fields, like in with a lot of different types of people. I think in your bio it said you worked at Deloitte with Deloitte and Touche, and um, you did the LA Olympics, you met with the Pope people and all that kind of stuff. So, what are some things that you, because you've had such a vast experience with a large number of people in many different areas, what are some common things that you notice about humanity?
I would say one thing that has helped me and I've learned over the years is to people treat people with respect. Okay, and understand that they're going through different situations. They have different experiences, different cultures, different backgrounds. Um, One experience I had when I worked with the Oakland Raiders, I was obviously a lot younger then, but one of my jobs at that time was to take players back who had been cut from the team to the airport so they could fly home. And
Mm,
this was, for many players, it's been their dream since they were a little kid to play professional football. And now they've been told they're not good enough to make the team. So you
mm,
just can imagine how devastating that can be for a lot of the players. Others took it, said, okay, I'm going to go back to school. But for that hour and a half or 2 hour ride to the airport, I just want to be respectful of those players. And when I drop them at the airport, I wish them well. I thank them because they're going through a lot, and it's tough for them to think about, and then they have to share it with their friends and family. So I don't want to leave them on, so we say, on a rough foot. I want to leave them on with a positive note. But just try and treat people with respect and understanding, and try and see things from their point of view.
oh, that's wise wisdom for anybody dealing with anybody in any situation, right? Treat people with respect, be kind to them, because again, as you said earlier, you never know what somebody's going through. And clearly you knew that they had just, in that situation, you knew they had just had a not, I won't want to say devastating because again, I think it was a redirection for them,
Yeah,
whatever happened, a disappointing
very.
experience. But we never know in everyday life, just people we encounter, what just happened in their life. They could have just lost their
Yeah,
dog or their dad or a friend or their job or whatever it is. So treat people with respect and kindness. That is a blanket, perfect word of wisdom. Again, secret of being, but it shouldn't really be a secret.
yeah, yeah.
I
Just
kind of feel like it's just kind of, isn't that our normal human nature? Don't we come into this world wanting to see other people and be kind to other people because that's how we would like to be treated?
it's how we want to be treated. And at the same time, it helps build the relationship between individuals because you never know who's going to be talking to whom, for referrals, for friendship, for potential opportunities where you can make a positive impact. If you make a positive effort to show that you care, you understand, there's a good chance they'll remember you.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that I've had people in my life like that show up in my life. So I want to show up in other people's lives in that same way because it feels so good when you're on the
Yeah.
receiving end. And it also feels really good when you're on the giving end too. So what are you currently working on right now? Is there anything that any passion that's going on? You've got some big thing happening because clearly in your lifetime you've had a lot of big things.
Well, right now, I'm at our local community college. We have a lifelong learning program for people over 50. And so I'm vice president of the program. And so we're expanding the program. It's not just for people over 50, but anyone can join. It's been cited as a national model, been in existence for 53 years, and everything we offer, which is online and in person, is 100% free of charge. So anyone, really, literally anyone in the country could join, get involved, and it's called Emeritus Students College of Marin. But our focus is more local, but we have people outside the area that have signed up and participate in our online programs. We have monthly guest speakers. We have an opportunity to work with local students. We have monthly get the guest speakers. We do a lot of different things. We have like about 20 different clubs, and we're always looking for new ideas and suggestions that people would like to do. So it's a number of different things. So I've been involved with a lot of outreach throughout the community and the county, to build relationships and get the word out about what we have available.
That is fantastic. Do you work with people outside of the country?
Not yet.
Well,
Not
I
yet.
know some people. I know some people, so we have to talk about that. But in our show notes, we'll include a link to that website for you
Okay. Thank
because
you.
I feel like that's awesome, offering people opportunities, right? Again, so that they can put their gifts, skills, and talents into the world. And I think that that's beautiful. Um,
Let me just say that once
yeah,
people go to the website, they join, which is online, then they decide what they want to do, how active they want to be, and it's totally up to them.
that's incredible. Again, being of service, there you are again, being of service. Um, so if people wanted to learn more about you or connect with you, where would you have them, where would you direct them to find you? On any social medias or an email address,
Well,
like whatever you want to share.
I have a LinkedIn page, a LinkedIn profile is one, and then my email address is lhweingarten number one at gmail.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Again, we'll include that in the show notes if anybody wants to connect with Leonard. Leonard, you again, congratulations on all of your successes. I mean, very impressive. And you have a lot of
Thank
wisdom
you.
to share. And I'm so glad that you're sharing it with us because, again, people that don't know what their next steps are, the things that you talked about, again, thinking outside the box, taking risks, having no regrets, um, treating people with respect and kindness. Those things are all things that will change your life if you put them into practice and then writing it down, visualizing. And I love when you said, thinking about, do you want to work inside? Do you want to work outside? Sometimes we don't think about the daily practicality of what job we're entering, right? Like, what
Right.
does that look like? My daughter went to college for marketing and advertising. And she worked in that after she graduated for like a year. And she said, I do not want to work in an office. That is not the life I want to live. And she was good at it. She was very good at it, but she just didn't want to be stuck behind a desk all day. So now she's working in
Exactly.
hospitality. She gets to travel all over. She's lived all over the world and she loves it. And she gets to, meet all kinds of different people. And so it's really been a really good thing for her. But had she thought about the job, about, okay, what would advertising and marketing look like for her? Day to day, I'm going into office, I'm sitting behind a desk. I don't like that and I don't want that. So those are important things to consider when you're thinking about your next moves and what you want to do for your
Exactly.
vocation.
Good for her.
Yeah, I love it. And one of my favorite things about her is like everybody loves her. And she's just like this little bundle of light and joy and energy, and she's funny. And, so I think she's had the best education of her life. And she went to USC and, she's had a good education, but meeting people from all over the world, learning people, understanding people has given her like that education you cannot buy.
Good.
So I think
Yeah.
all
Very
about the
true.
people.
Very true.
Yeah. So as we start to come to a close, I would like it if you already gave us so much nuggets of wisdom, but one piece of wisdom that you really want people to remember and take away from this episode.
I would like to share a quote that I have in the Love Notes book. Okay. And it's about risking because I think we all have to take risks in various ways, various forms. And so here's the saying: if you cannot risk, you cannot grow. If you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. If you cannot become your best, you cannot be happy. If you cannot be happy, what else matters?
You know what? That's almost like mic drop. There's nothing else left to say. And I truly, I say all the time, all the magic happens outside of our comfort zone. So do the scary thing because you're going to grow from it. And once you do the scary thing, you feel so good. That feeling, you cannot duplicate that in any other way, but doing the scary thing and getting on the other side of it. And then it's not scary
Exactly.
anymore. Yeah.
You feel like you've grown, you've crossed a barrier, and more power to you.
It's expansive. It's expansive. And that's what we want. Everybody living into the highest and greatest selves. So Leonard, clearly you are an example of that. And thank you for sharing all that wisdom. I hope it touches somebody's life and makes a difference and they get to have that aha moment that you had
Hope they
when you
do.
first
Thank
heard
you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Oh, it is a pleasure to be connected with you. And
Thank
thank
you.
you all for being watching this episode of The Secrets of Being. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Secrets of Being podcast. We appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more inspiring content. For further inspiration, visit thesecretsofbeing.com and join our community. Until next time, stay inspired and keep unlocking the secrets of being.